in an era shrouded in the midst of time, within the vast expanse of an uncharted cosmos, emerged the genesis of humankind. How did the odyssey of humanity begin? What secrets lie within our primordial roots? As I began to research ancient cultures, I discovered something quite interesting. Most of these ancient cultures all believe that life originated in the Pleiades. When you look at the indigenous North Americans, the Mayans, the Aboriginal tribes of Australia, the Egyptians, and even the Japanese, they all claim that they were seeded on this planet by people from the Pleiades. How can people separated by so many thousands of miles in different continents have the same exact story? There must be some fact rooted in the myth. This is the saga of the Anunnaki and their ancient secrets revealed. All right. Hey, welcome to the Forbidden Knowledge Podcast. It's Billy Carson, aka Forbidden Knowledge. And I hope you guys like that. One of the many trailers that's going to come out, that's one of the first trailers for my new TV series, Anunnaki, Ancient Secrets Revealed. And what I love about this TV series, it's going to air at Regal IMAX theaters before it gets to Forbidden Knowledge TV. And there are some cities that I'll be appearing in. So you can come out and hang out with me, meet me in person and ask questions and watch the live premiere with me. I just dropped the link in the chat. I'll drop it in here a couple times. Just to give you, I'm going to look up here and read some of these cities that I just dropped the link to. We have, of course, Los Angeles, which is going to be the first one, which I believe is May the 12th in LA at LA Live Regal Cinema. It's going to be an amazing night there. We got LA on May 12th. May 18th, we'll be at the Atlantic Station Stadium 18 IMAX RPX. And that is in, what state is that in? That's in Atlanta, Georgia. All right, June 30th, the Anunnaki premiere in Detroit at the Imagine Theaters on the IMAX screen. And then we have Houston, Texas, July 14th. Okay, so that's going to be at the Houston Marquee Stadium 23 IMAX RPX in Houston, Texas, July 14th. New York, the place that I was born in Queens. I'm going back home. All right, so it will be in New York at Union Square Stadium 17 on the IMAX screen on Saturday, August the 10th. And then we have Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So Fort Lauderdale, Florida is going to be November the 2nd at Dania Point at the 4DX RPX Regal. And it's on the IMAX screen. So that'll be in November the 2nd. And then we have Miami. Bienvenido a Miami. Sí, habla español. So that's going to be Saturday, November 16th, South Beach Stadium, 18 IMAX. All right, so we're going to wrap it up Saturday, November the 16th in Miami. All right. So I hope you guys get a chance to come out and hang out. And just to give you a format before I get into the podcast tonight, the format is that I'm actually going to speak for 1 hour. All right. And so you're going to get to see me speak for an hour. And then after that, we're going to play the live premiere. I'll be there with you for that. And at the end, we'll have Q&A. So it's going to be a phenomenal thing. Okay, so let me. All right. And so it's going to be an amazing night. Okay, it's going to be really, really nice. It's going to be amazing. We have a lot of theaters set up, all Regal IMAX, in person, me speaking for 1 hour, and then spending time with you watching the live premiere and then getting up and answering questions. So I'm really looking forward to this. This is going to be amazing. I remember when we did the live premiere of the Black Knight Satellite documentary at the Imagine Theaters in Detroit. It was mind-blowing. We had so many people there walking the red carpet, taking photos, doing interviews. And then we did the live premiere and I did a Q&A at the end and everyone loved it. All right. Those are the states that we have for now. All right. So try to find a state closest to you I know some people may have to travel to get to some of those locations, but the link, again, I'm going to drop it here. It's also in the caption of this video or in the caption of this audio, wherever you're listening. This is what we have for right now. Nobody has ever done the Anunnaki this way. Nobody. No TV show, no documentary, no docuseries. It doesn't exist. This is the first of its kind in this particular format, and it's going to be mind-blowing, and you're going to love it. And I'm looking forward to this. All right. So, what's up, Prime Motivator? Prime Motivator says, finally caught your live show. I'm doing good, Prime Motivator. Thanks for hopping on. All right. So let's get into it. Tonight's going to be a great topic. Make sure you guys click the like button. We need to get the algorithm going. Click that like button. Please share the video. If you can, click the like button, share the video. And, if you come back to watch this again later, please leave a positive comment underneath the comments and click that like button so we can get that good algorithm going. All right. Appreciate you. What's up, Tom from Turkey? So anyway, lot going on tonight. A lot going on. We're going to talk about, let me put my hat on. I like this hat. It's that fashion forward look. You got the cap, especially when you need a haircut, like I need a haircut and a shave. You got to put the cap on and got the blazer on with the esoteric gear, right? That's how you do it. So we're going to talk about Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed. And I'm going to give you some tidbits that you're going to be able to digest tonight, but you'll learn a lot more in the series. One of the things that I learned during the process of researching the Anunnaki and these advanced beings over many, many decades has been their reference to a particular star system, right? A particular star system. And that star system is the Pleadian star system, or also known as the Pleiades. The Pleiades is an interesting place, right? The Pleiades is an interesting place because the Pleiades is a star system that has been recognized over eons of time by so many ancient cultures. How in the world are all of these ancient cultures recognizing the same grouping of stars? It's so amazing. And so it made me really scratch my head because I just kept coming over text and papyruses and cylinder scrolls and tablets over all the years that keeps pointing to the Pleiades. And not only that, when I was going for my different travels, my trips around the world and going to meet the Aboriginal elders of Australia and going for walkabouts and meeting indigenous tribes of the Americas, Hopi and Lakota, and talking to the pyramid priests in Egypt. And, it's like they all have the same verbal handed down history. All of them claim to have been seated on this planet by Pleiadians. This is amazing. Even the Sumerians worshipped or honored the Pleiades. They called it Mul, M-U-L. And they really revered the Pleiades. And not only did they revere it, but they even created, stone tablets that had star maps on them. And these star maps would show one of these Anunnaki beings headed on a journey through the star system to head towards the Pleiades. Now that's mind-blowing. That's really mind-blowing. First of all, a lot of them depict the 7 stars, even though they realized that one of the stars later on had burned out and ran out of fuel. So we see that this has been something that has been going on for many, many, many eons, to the point where they knew 7 stars turned to 6 with the visible eye. Now, in that region of the sky where the Pleiades is located, there are more than just 7 stars, right? There are literally hundreds, maybe thousands of stars in that one tiny pinprick of sky. However, the brightest ones, we call them the 7 sisters, right? They're called the 7 sisters, and there's a lot of text that reference the Pleiades over many, many eons. Let's take a look at some of them. All right. So you have, well, let's first look at the Iliad and the Odyssey. Homer's references to the Pleiades, both in the Iliad and the Odyssey, further cementing their place in Greek mythology, talking about the Pleiadian star system and also talking about celestial navigation. Okay. And then you have the Poetic Edda. It's a Norse mythology, and all myths are rooted in fact. All myths are rooted in fact. Doesn't mean that they're all 100% accurate and true, but their fundamental basis, the root of them, is rooted in actual fact. I think it gets twisted over time. They say the Pleiades were seen as Freyja's hens, and their appearance in the sky was noted in ancient Scandinavian texts. They revered the Pleiades in Norse text, and according to these people, the indigenous Scandinavians, they were seeded on this planet by Pleiadians. So you have European people saying that they were brought here by Pleiadians. The Vedic text, right? So now we're talking India. Ancient Indian scriptures, including several Vedic texts, mention the Pleiades, known as the Kritika and the Sanskrit. They are considered to be the six mothers of the war god Skanda. And they talk about this war a lot in these Indian texts, in the Vedic texts, in the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas. They talk about these wars in the heavens, just like the Bible's talking about the wars in the heavens. It's the same exact conversation being had in two different texts over two totally different time periods. The Greeks talked about the war of the gods in the sky. They were still talking about the same war. There was this huge battle between these beings that occurred in space and occurred in they call it the heavens, which is really, in my opinion, space. And even then, within the atmosphere, above different cities, they say gigantic flying cities were battling each other in the sky for dominance over mankind. That's in this text. You're talking about thousands and thousands of years ago. And so I just don't believe that people were sitting around thinking, I know I got to go out there and be a hunter-gatherer today, but I feel like I just want to make up this sci-fi story right quick before I go out and bring some fresh meat home to my family. It doesn't make any sense. These people wrote down what they saw. They wrote down what they knew and what they were taught. All right. Then you have, of course, Chinese astronomy. The Pleiades were known in ancient China and are referred to in texts such as the Book of Documents, which is an amazing reference book in terms of the ancient information about ancient China. And in here, you find out so much about China going way back. And it's mind-blowing, the level of knowledge, wisdom, spiritual science, metaphysics that they had. They were associated with the goddess of weaving. And then you had the Egyptian text. Yes, the Egyptians revere the Pleiades as well. The Pleiades appear in various Egyptian texts. They also are shown in astronomical diagrams. You can see them in certain hieroglyphs. And of course, the calendar of the lucky and unlucky days, often associated with the goddess Hathor. Okay, so Hathor, this goddess Hathor, who interestingly enough was known for the birthing chambers. And in these birthing chambers, these Hathors, it was actually Hathors, it was plural, they had the job or the duty of helping to reproduce mankind at a faster rate. And when you go back from the Egyptian text into the ancient Sumerian text, you discover something crazy. These Hathors appear there as well, and they were helping and aiding in this, some type of a cloning process where human beings, according to these texts, they couldn't mate with each other and reproduce. So these Hathors were helping to get these birthing chambers to help reproduce people faster. You can go to one of these birthing chambers at the Temple of Dendera, or you can come with me and I'll take you there to the Temple of Dendera. And also you can learn more about the Hathors at Hatshepsut's temple near the Valley of the Kings out there in the desert. And of course, there's another Temple of Isis just out back of the Temple of Dendera, and another Temple of Isis over in Aswan. So I take the people that I take on my tours to Egypt, I take them with me to these locations, and they get the real history, not the fake history. Then I'll take you to the temple of Karnak. And on the walls of Karnak, you will see the exact instructions on how to clone a human being. I'm going to say that again. On the walls at the temple of Karnak, you will see the exact instructions on how to clone a human being. And so this is all ancient stuff. This is pretty crazy stuff. But again, these people claim to hail from the Pleiades, these Hathors. Then you have the Mesoamerican cultures. So you're talking about the Mayans and the Aztecs and so forth. People say, well, what did they say? Well, not in the form of papyrus or tablets, really, because they didn't have that. But the Pleiades were significant to them. They idolized the Pleiades and the cosmology of the Pleiades and the star system surrounding, right? Orion and Aldebaran and so forth. They even have, I've been to Mesoamerica, which is now, of course, Chichen Itza and Yucatan Peninsula, and to Teotihuacan. When you go down to Chichen Itza, down in the Yucatan Peninsula, there's a picture I took standing in front of a observatory. Looks just like a modern day observatory. However, this was built thousands of years ago. And the Maya had integrated into their calendral system the actual cycles of time and the cycles of movement of stars and alignments. And they also revered the Pleiades. So the Pleiades have shown a huge significance in many, many cultures over many, many eons. And because they did that, we need to pay attention to exactly what they said, what they wrote down, what they drew on walls, what they put on stone tablets. We need to pay attention. There's something going on here with the Pleiades, which I cover deep. I do a deep dive in my TV series, Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed, which, like I said before, is going to be premiered movie style at the Regal IMAXs, okay? And, just to give you an idea, I mean, to go on the Regal IMAX, the quality level that you have to be approved at has to be top notch. Regal IMAX has its own reputation. And so in order for a film to be approved to play on that screen, it's got to meet certain particular spec requirements. And so we're real happy to say that, wow, this is one of the most incredible productions we've ever done. And it's going to be mind blowing. So I dropped the link in the chat again. Hopefully you can make it to one of those states that I'll be in, one of those cities that I'll be in. And hopefully I'm close to a city near you that you can hop over and hang out with me for a few hours and we can watch this Anunnaki series premiere. Okay. So the Pleiades, interesting. When the Aboriginals said, we were the first people seeded on this planet by the Pleiadians, I was like, wow. Now, check this out. I go down to Australia. This is another time. And I go out to Carryong 9, just outside of Sydney, with a group of people. And we get guides and we get sage. We sage ourselves. And then we head into the outback. We're on to a walkabout. When you get into the outback, there are no trails. There's no way to say we should go this way or that way. The first thing you have to do is when you get into the entrance of this particular area, you have to go up to this magnificent tree and you have to give it a hug and pray with the tree before you enter into the outback. So that's the first thing we did. After we did that, the next thing that you had to do was the guide had to call out to a particular bird, an indigenous bird of that area. And we could not enter in until the bird called back. And I'm thinking, I don't even hear any birds. I don't hear any insects. I hear nothing. And I'm thinking, oh man, come on, don't do this to us. And then within 2 or 3 minutes, the bird calls back. And I'm like, this is wild. And he was telling us that if you head in here without this saging, without this tree prayer, and without this call, we can be killed. And he wasn't playing. He said that a few months prior, he had a group and he couldn't get a hold of one of the elders to let them know what was going on. And he was going out there and he didn't get the approval. And when they got there, The fires were going on. If you remember, I went there when the fires were still going, but they weren't in that area. They were headed towards that area. And he's like, if I light a fire, what if it catches on? He had some concerns, so he didn't light the fire. They didn't smudge. They didn't do anything to sanitize themselves or cleanse their spirit. And then they went in. They didn't call to the bird. And later on that night, he got a call from one of the Aboriginal elders, and they told him, we know that you were there and you didn't follow, basically told him you didn't follow the guidelines, the ritual. And he said, the next time you do that, everyone will be dead. I mean, they were dead serious. Literally, they were dead serious. That's how serious they take that. You cannot disrespect those people's grounds like that. You cannot do it. I'm just telling you, they know. They know. It's real. That the power out there, the energy out there, it's palatable. You can taste it. You can feel it. You can sense it. It's real energy. So we get out into the outback and we're going out there for quite a ways. And I'm going, how in the hell do they know where they're going? There's no beaten path. There's nowhere where people have walked so many times that the ground is flattened. You just got to know where you're going. And we head out and we get to this area where they have something called the Gosford glyphs. And at the Gosford glyphs, there's these two huge walls, all right, on the left and right. You can tell that it had a roof at some point, but the roof had collapsed. And on these walls, on one side, it's Egyptian. It's hieroglyphs, Egyptian hieroglyphs. And these Egyptian hieroglyphs start telling a story. And as we're going through the glyphs, you can clearly see the story. And it's an amazing story. It really is amazing because you can see that over many thousands of years, different Egyptians or peoples of ancient Kemet had come there and visited and left a record on the wall as to what they came there for and what their mission was and all that. But you see this one amazing story. Shout out to Mr. Strong and his son Strong, who was out there with us helping us out. When you get to this one wall, you discover this one area of the wall, you discover the hieroglyphs are telling a story of two brothers that left ancient Kemet and went all the way out to Australia. And upon arriving there in Australia, one of them actually got bit by a snake. Okay, got bit by a snake. And unfortunately, the other brother tried to save him and he couldn't save him. He died, right? He died. So he actually went and got this stone and flattened out the top surface of a stone and made like a little, I guess, if you want to call it a trowel on it, and put the body on it to mummify it. And that stone where he mummified the body, just as he said in the glyphs, is still there. And so he wrapped the body and secured it and then headed back to Egypt, ancient Kemet. Now, when I first heard the story before I got to see these glyphs with my own eyes, when I heard it years prior, I was like, this is an amazing story. And then I end up going to Egypt and seeing the story of the return of the brothers from Australia in hieroglyphs in Egypt in 2014 when I went. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. The story I heard from these glyphs is finishing, and there's an ending to it. So I said, I have to get there. So I finally got a chance to go there and see this with my own eyes. I will tell you that these hieroglyphs, according to Stephen Strong, had been sent out to the Board of Antiquities. Also, Muhammad Ibrahim, who is directly connected to the Board of Antiquities in Egypt, and had been also reviewed and authenticated. So the glyphs are authenticated as Proto-Egyptian hieroglyphs. Proto-Egyptian, meaning they are pre-dynastic era. This is really ancient Kemetic glyphs. The age has been verified because in between the growth in the crevices of the glyphs is, in between the crevices of the glyph, there's growth. And that growth can be dated because it's organic material in the stone, like patina. And so when they dated that, it dates back to about 5,000 years ago. So the date is authenticated and the Proto-Egyptian hieroglyphs are also authenticated. So they were there. They were there. Now, they stopped going about 500 years ago because one of the most recent stories on that wall talk about two younger Egyptians had come about 500 years ago, and there's sacred stones there, and we got a chance to see some of these sacred stones. Some we were allowed to touch, and some you're not allowed to touch. If you touch them, you will die. That's according to them. So we had to at least see some of them. These are multi-layered mineral stones. In some way, the people who put these stones together, I do mean they put some of these together, they merged two different types of materials within materials to create this composite stone, which is almost, in my opinion, from a scientific standpoint, engineering standpoint, seems almost impossible. But these stones had harnessed specific energies. And two of the Egyptians 500 years ago, they took some of the sacred stones from the Aboriginal elders. They stole them. And so from there, you can see that they were banned from ever coming back. And that's when the trips to Australia they were coming, according to the Egyptians, to get knowledge from the Aboriginals. And that's when it ended. 500 years ago, they said, that's it. You guys are banned from coming back. But what's interesting about this story, on the other wall, remember I told you there was two walls, one on the left, one on the right. So on the left side, if you're looking into the glyphs from the back side of the wilderness, on the left side, there are hieroglyphs as well. Now, those hieroglyphs have never been deciphered by any linguist, any person that knows how to translate ancient or dead languages. Nobody has been able to decipher those hieroglyphs. Now, the Aboriginals say, oh, those are from the Pleadians. That's what they wrote when they would come here. And so we had the Pleiadians there, and we have evidence of it. And guess what? Those glyphs also were then dated because of the same material, organic material, growing in the crevices of the glyphs. And they dated back to when? About 5,000 years ago. So we know that Pleiadians were visiting Australia and engaging the Aboriginal people at some point in living color, like in person, at least around that time period. And for whatever reason, they stopped coming. But those glyphs are there. I've been there. And it's an amazing sight to see. You know, let me see, matter of fact, let me just see, maybe I can get lucky and pull down some receipts. Let me go to my Google Photos. That's the thing I like about Google Photos. Sometimes, you know, it takes up a lot of bandwidth because it's always trying to upload photos to save for you. But when you need one, you know, let me see if I can go in here and type in Australia right quick and see if I can find a couple of photos to pull up on the screen for you guys. All right, might get lucky. Let's see what we can find. But yes, it was an amazing trip. But again, the Pleiadians are there in Australia. I mean, who would have thought something like, I would have never thought anything like that. It's just mind-boggling that, you know, that they were there. Okay, let me see what I can find here. Okay, Australia. All right, boom. Let's see what we got. I'm logged into my Google Photos. See if I can pull something up on the screen for you guys. Let's see if I can find something. Okay, I can see a couple of things here. All right, cool. So I'm going to pull these images up for you guys here real quick, and we'll share a couple of photos since we got a little bit of time. We got 3,000 people here in the live chat. Let me show you what I saw. Let me show you some Pleiadian hieroglyphs. All right, let me share my screen and pull these up real quick. All right. All right, let's see what we got here. Well, you clearly see me, I'm in Australia, because you can see I'm standing in front of the Sydney Opera House. All right, you see, like I said, I always have the receipts. I always have the forbidden receipts. All right, and you can see I took a lot of photos. And let's see here. This is the tree I was telling you guys about, by the way. This massive tree. I was just taking a picture of the roots. The roots were massive. Let me see if I can. Okay, here we go. All right. So this side of the wall here was the side that had the Pleadian glyphs on it. Okay. You can see them cut into solid rock here. Okay. You can see them. Somebody says, who has the Emerald Tablets of Thoth? The Emerald Tablets are in the Vatican archives underneath the Vatican 5-mile underground vast archive of knowledge and information that they hoard from the general public. But back to this. So these glyphs are, you can clearly see them. They're cut into solid stone right here. Okay. Cut into solid stone. And so you just got a chance to see some Pleiadian glyphs. You can see here I'm out in the wilderness going out with a team of people and, you know, taking pictures of some of the glyphs, trying to analyze them and see what they could or possibly mean, or if I can even glean any understanding as to what they mean, what they say, you know. See if I can go some more. So this is the Egyptian side now. So this side is the Egyptian. These are Egyptian hieroglyphs. These are proto-Egyptian hieroglyphs on this side. Proto-Egyptian. This is at Carryong 9, just outside of Sydney in Australia. See if I can find something else. What's this here? Oh, another glyph that I was just trying to analyze. You can see this is like Thoth the Atlantean right here. You can see the beak. You can see the head. You can see the body. Check out these glyphs. It's amazing. This one to the far left, in the middle of the page on the far left, is something that nobody's ever seen because it looks like a disc and it has these little things coming out of the bottom. And nobody can figure out what that means. Pretty interesting stuff. What you're looking at right now, less than 1/10% of the people on the planet have ever even seen what I'm showing you right now. Okay, less than 1/10% of the people on the planet have ever seen these. These will be in my TV series as well. I have some other more clear, better angles for, you know, for actual production. These are just off the cell phone. So you'll be able to see a lot better, a lot more clear in the Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed. So you don't want to miss it. You just don't want to miss it. I'm going to drop the link in the live chat again. All right. And let me see here. Where was I? Oops. I was trying to get back to my screen. 1 second. Let me get back to that screen. Where was it here? Okay, hold on. Let me stop sharing and go back. I want to show you guys something else. Let me go back again to that window. Somehow I lost it. All right, here we go. Okay. So now, let's look at these. Wild stuff here. Like I said, nobody has been able to decipher these. These are some Egyptian glyphs. I'm sorry, this is the Egyptian side. They've deciphered these. This is the Egyptian side. These are decipherable. The other side, they can't. I'm going to show you another picture from the other side. These are Egyptian. Proto-Egyptian. Proto-Egyptian. The story so they would start low at the bottom of this rock and they would work their way up. This is a really high level. I mean, in order to get up here, you need a ladder or something to a scaffold or something. I mean, I can't even show you the size comparison as to how high that is because you don't have anything to see how high it is, but it's extremely high. This might give you an idea. Some of these glyphs are way at the top of these stones. And you can see how small we look at the bottom, right? And you can see Mr. Strong down there taking some notes of some of the glyphs. I had a team out there and we were actually doing some research on these hieroglyphs. trying to figure out what happened, what's going on, and what message has been left behind for us. This is a crazy story here. This guy was lost out in the wilderness. And so we're camped out on a rock face and we're having lunch. I don't even know how far away we were out there in the wilderness. And this guy, we hear the bushes rustling in the background. I'm saying, I thought you guys told me there were no wild animals out here. And he was like, there's no wild animals. I said, somebody's here or something's here. And here he comes through the bushes. And he's thirsty, he's hungry, he's lost, and he's hot. And he looks at me and he goes, hey, mate, that's forbidden knowledge. And we got that on film. And he asked me for a selfie, a photo. And he said he just bought the book. That was crazy to run into somebody who recognized me in the middle of the outback, in the middle of nowhere. I mean, really in the middle of nowhere. You can see we're out there in the middle of nowhere. It was pretty crazy. And then he had to follow us to get out of there. Some people I met here met out there in Australia. Let me go back to this one. Here's another better angle of that object that people have been struggling to figure out for years what this means. Like an eyelid almost, or is it an object? And then it has these lines coming down with these circles at the bottom of each line. I think Steve Strong had deciphered it as skyship, but nobody really knows. I mean, it's all up to speculation. We're just trying to, we're just trying to figure it out. We're just trying to figure out what's going on. Let's see here. There's some glyphs here, some really small ones on this stone. It was just amazing. Just amazing. To get there and to see this before the fire came and destroyed it was a blessing, because the fires were out there at the same time we were out there. There was another site that I wanted to go to that was a cave. It had cave drawings that went back thousands of years. And the cave drawings, unfortunately, were destroyed in the fire. So I'll never be able to see those, never be able to see those. But, it is what it is. Let's see here. Anything else interesting? Oh, let me see if I can find Thoth Amabi. So they have in the ground, I hope it's in here. Thoth Amabi is a picture of Thoth the Atlantean from Africa, etched into the stone in the ground as a petroglyph in Australia. I don't have it on these images here. Maybe I'll have it on another time I come on to talk. I'll bring the Thoth Amabi photos out so you can see Thoth from Egypt, the person that's on the front of my book, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, right? The bird, the beak, the bird head. What is he doing etched into a gigantic, huge petroglyph out in the middle of the outback? And he's sitting on this object and it's got this swirl, this gigantic swirl. And I said to them, what do you think that means? And they told me, oh, that's Thoth Amabi. And he's on a skyship flying through the Milky Way. That's their verbal handed down history. Their verbal handed down history. Right? Crazy. So you can see a lot of cool stuff here. So you can see I had a really great time out there hanging out in Australia and meeting some great people, some great friends, and just really having a good time. This here looks like I'm the bottom photo. I don't know how that got combined like that. In the bottom, I'm actually inside of a pyramid. At the top, I'm standing in front of the Sydney Opera House. That's pretty crazy. But anyway, I'll stop sharing now. But yeah, you got the idea. Like I said, I have the receipts. I was really there. What's up, C. Jones? C. Jones says, first time catching a live stream. Appreciate you. Thank you. And we have We have Israel in the house, all right? And we got people from all over the world in here tonight, everywhere in the world. I saw somebody from Africa earlier. So, hey, but, like I said, I always have the receipts. I had a great time going out to Australia. Looking forward to going back and documenting more amazing things there, like the pyramids there in Australia. Yes, there's pyramids there. Some of the other ancient structures that are laying around there, and being able to, wrong one there. Being able to go out there and just really explore and get a lot of knowledge, right? Get a lot of knowledge. See, give this person a shout out. Kevin Hawkins, what do you think about those blocks in Montana? Listen, Montana, Texas, all those places have remnants of an ancient Atlantean civilization. All of those places throughout the Americas, a lot of them have been damaged and destroyed or buried or built on top of, because we built a metropolis called America. But underneath our feet here in America are remnants of a super advanced ancient civilization right here in the Americas. All right, right here in the Americas. So, yeah. And shout out to Joanne from Poland. Long Beach, California in the house. LBC, what's happening with the LBC? So, yeah, just having a good time traveling. But again, then meeting with some indigenous tribes of the Americas, with the Hopi, and talking with them and hearing their version of the story. So their version of the story is a little bit different, right? Their version of the story is, the Pleiadians were considered to be their star brothers. So they call them their star brothers, and their star brothers also, they claim, seeded them on this planet. They're not the only indigenous tribe of the Americas that have the same story, and they call them the Star Brothers. Again, you have to ask yourself this question. What in the world happened that people separated by thousands of miles, different continents, oceans, seas, they all have the same story? How does that happen, right? How does it happen? Would you say personally that Enlil was God? Ghost Gaming asked me. None of these people were God. He proclaimed himself to be the head god, or the head of the pantheon. His name was Anu of the Anuna, but he was not the creator of the universe. And then his sons and his nephews and his nieces, they all began to proclaim they were all gods, but none of them created the universe. None of them created the planets and put moons in orbit around planets. None of them did that. So they were just people. A lot of the times when I talk about these advanced beings, the Anunnaki, also known as the Anuna, and also known as the Anak in the biblical text, known as Nephilim, and so many other names that they've been given, Natiru of Africa. People think I'm talking about aliens like the aliens they see in the movies on TV. No, my friends. That's conditioning. You've been conditioned to be afraid of the unknown. What they don't want you to know is that these scary aliens, they look just like you and I. Not all of them, but the majority of them. The majority of these quote unquote aliens, people not of this world, like Jesus said in the Bible, look just like you and I. So much so that you can sit next to them in a movie theater or in an airplane. You can walk next to them at a shopping mall. You can meet them at the beach or a playground, and you will never know that you weren't talking to, quote unquote, what you consider to be a human being or somebody born on this planet. And that's a fact. And that what I just said is almost a direct quote, word by word, by who? A former NATO military officer with high-level clearance. His clearance was called cosmic. It was above top secret. And I've played his clips many times. He's passed away now, but he's verifiable, and his son works at the Pentagon still to this day. But the thing is, these people are here. They've always been here. We've never been alone. And the illusion that's painted by Hollywood on TV of these people that are coming to blast you with laser guns and all this kind of stuff, and they look like they're monsters and they're going to eat you and eat your babies. That's conditioning. That's all conditioning. The true reality is they look just like us and we look just like them. And that's a fact. When you read an ancient indigenous native document of the Americas, it's called the Terra Papers, Terra, Terra Papers. It was written by a Hopi elder. And in this text, he didn't write it per se that he wrote it and made it up, but it's handed down history. He decided to finally canonize it into a book so that it can be preserved, right? So they can actually be preserved. And he decided to do this. And so in this text, you discover the evolution of beings on different planets in different parts of the galaxy, the Milky Way. You discover that they all develop forward-facing eyes, bilateral bipedal hominids like us. They may look different. Their skin might be different. Their eyes might be different, how they function. Their organs might be different. But they predominantly, this body type permeates the entire universe. And what do you need to be able to, what do you need to have to be able to actually leave the planet that you're on? You need to have hands. You need hands. And I'll answer a couple of those questions I saw in a minute. You need to have hands, these appendages. Without these appendages, we would be nowhere because human beings aren't that smart. I know we think that we're so smart and we're so intelligent, but as a whole, we're not that smart. There's animals in the animal kingdom that are smarter than us, like killer whales and dolphins and elephants. And in my opinion, sometimes I think that their empathy for us has stopped them from destroying us. I believe that they have empathy for us, so they don't try to destroy us, because they could if they wanted to. But these animals, what keeps them locked to the earth? They don't have these. An elephant can't manipulate its environment. A dolphin cannot manipulate its environment enough. Just with with the beak, it doesn't have. There's not enough that it can do with a snout. It's just not enough. An elephant's got a trunk. It's just not enough. They can do a few things, but they can't build a spaceship. They just can't do it. And so because they don't have these appendages called hands, they're locked to the surface of the earth. But human beings, even though we're not as smart as these animals, we have the hands and we have imagination. So we'll take these hands and we'll do something as many times as need be until we figure it out, by accident sometimes. A lot of our inventions are done by accident. We're trying to do one thing and we figure out something else works and we go, holy crap, this can do that too? And then that thing becomes bigger than the first thing we were trying to do. Like, for example, the microwave. The scientist was working on the microwave and he had a chocolate bar that he was going to eat for lunch in his shirt pocket. And when he was working on this microwave, all of a sudden the chocolate bar started melting. He was like, what the hell's going on with the chocolate bar? And then he said, oh my God, the microwaves, I think they melt chocolate. So then he started doing more experiments with food. And he realized that the microwave was agitating the atoms inside of the food, creating vibrations, which create friction, which creates internal heating. And that's how the food would get hot. See, it was just an accident. A lot of invention. So, we figure things out. We stumble in the dark until we figure some things out. That's how it is. But this is the reason for the season. Without these hands, take away the hands, take away the feet, we're in trouble. We definitely are not at the top of the food chain. I could guarantee you that. So this is what the blessing that we got were these hands and the ability to manipulate our environment based on our imagination. We can imagine something and then we can begin to move things around and pick things up and connect things together. And the next thing you know, we have a microphone. See? That's how it works. So these cultures they mesmerized me because they were separated by so many miles and they have the same story. And it seems as if in this Terra Papers, for example, beings of this body type exist throughout the entire galaxy. They don't talk about any other galaxies. They predominantly talk about our galaxy. But there's one interesting similarity that's in this indigenous Native American text. It's the War of the Gods. Another war. And this war is between the empire. So there's an empire that's negative and dark going against the rebels. Sounds familiar? Sounds like Star Wars. As a matter of fact, that ancient text reads just like the Star Wars saga. When you read it, you realize George Lucas probably came across this text and then turned it into a Hollywood movie. And I'm not mad at him. I mean, it's an amazing series of movies he made. I love them. But he got his inspiration from these ancient texts. This is where he got the idea from. People from the Pleiades spreading out into other star systems. Now, why did they leave the Pleiades? That's the question that I answer in my TV series, right? Anunnaki, Ancient Secrets Revealed, which, by the way, like I said before, if you're just joining us, it's going to air in Regal Cinemas. I just dropped a link in the live chat all throughout the United States in different cities. So you can find your city that you're closest to, and you can meet me in person, and we can talk, shake hands, take photos. I'll speak for an hour, show you the live premiere, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end, all right? So it's going to be amazing. But also, in this series, I cover why they left the Pleiades, right? Why did they leave that star cluster, the Pleiadian star cluster? They left because of this war. There's a war in the Terra Papers. There's a war in the Mahabharata. There's a war in the Bhagavad Gita. There's a war in the Bible. There's a war in the Greek text. There's a war in the Indian Vedas. There's a war in the Sanskrit text. Everywhere you look, there's this war in the heavens. And what happens in each one of these wars? People flee. Well, where are they fleeing to? If you're fleeing from the heavens. They're looking for other places to live. We create the first space refugees in these wars. Refugees coming from Ukraine and Palestine and all that. That's not new. These people were space refugees. And what do you do if you can get off of a planet and escape? You look for a place that's safe. And when you get there, like unfortunately, some got here, some came here at a time where we were at a fallen state. So let me explain this. People on this planet were already here before these people got here. They did not make human beings. The Anunnaki did not make human beings. Somebody a long time prior had brought us here before they even arrived. When they got here, we were living in one with nature. That's how we were living. Those were our cousins. They weren't Homo sapiens sapien, but it was a Homo erectus of some type, not an ape, an intelligent being, our cousins, slightly genetically different, but still a hominid, virtually almost like us. And I'll get to some of these questions shortly. And then we were in a low state meaning we had risen to a high level, and because of either a geological disaster or going to war against our own selves, we had fallen back down to a low state. It's called the Yuga cycles, right? We go to the Kali Yuga. You ever heard of the Kali Yuga? Well, we were going through the Yuga cycles. We rose and we fell. They arrived at the time that we were fallen. In other words, we were just back to living off of the land, hunter-gathering and small groups. They didn't even interact with us at first. They were so intelligent, they saw us as animals. It wasn't until hundreds of thousands of years later, 250,000 years to be exact, that they decided to engage our cousins and genetically modify them for their purposes. And then they proclaimed themselves to be gods when they were just masquerading as gods. I cover this in extreme detail, and I bring all the receipts in the series, the Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed series. You're going to love it. I want to see you guys in the theaters. All right. I want to see these theaters stacked. And we have a very special Mother's Day special in LA. I almost forgot. In LA, Los Angeles, at LA Live Regal IMAX, we have a Mother's Day special, and mothers are going to get a very special gift. So bring your mom, or if you are a mom, bring your family with you. We have something special for you in LA. All right. I'll answer a few of these questions before I get out of here today. Just something to ponder. Just begin to ponder, the Pleiades. Why there? And then how come people then later on spread out to other planets? And why are they all talking about these wars? I go into the specifics of these wars and I break it down. And you're going to find out that refugees existed eons ago. And we're talking about people looking to create breakaway civilizations on other planets. Earth being one of many breakaway civilizations. All right. Let me answer a couple of questions before I hop out of here. Ghost Gaming says, God as in the creator of humans, not so much as the God of the universe. Okay, I just kind of answered that question, Ghost Gaming. Yeah, they didn't create human beings. They genetically modified our cousins, a hominid that was already here. They genetically modified that entity or that being, creating what they call a worker race. That's in the Epic of Atrahasis. You can read more about that. All right, who else we got? I saw a couple here. Was the Australia fired to hide the truth? That's a good question, Hashim. That land that I was on was privately owned. At first, it was privately owned, but then it was trying to be sold, and it was going to be construction was going to happen on it. And then somehow another organization swooped in and got hold of that land and kind of began to try to prevent this construction. So all of a sudden, then a few years later, they can't get a hold of this land, and now there's fires. It makes me scratch my head because in the hotel that I was in, right outside, I never forget this. I walked outside the hotel. I said, let me see what it feels like to walk around Australia. So I go outside and I walk right out my door of my hotel onto the back street. And the first building in front of me is Raytheon. Raytheon is right there in Australia, right on the corner, directly across the street from the hotel that I was in. And I was like, oh, wow. I bet they're responsible for these fires. I don't know if they are or not. I'm not saying they did. But what I am saying, it's one hell of a damn coincidence. One hell of a coincidence. Let's answer a couple more before I get out of here. The clip we're about to receive on April 8th, does it connect to the Anunnaki? The clip. The eclipse. They must be talking about the eclipse. Rose is talking about the eclipse that's coming on April the 8th. I knew about April the 8th, so I'm just thinking that's got to be eclipse. So the eclipse is just a standard cycle of planetary and lunar movements. It has nothing to do with the Anunnaki. It has nothing to do with the end of the world. A lot of people are saying, stock up on food and be ready because all these things are going to happen. But based on my astrological knowledge and based on my astrophysical knowledge and the people that I know that are in astrophysics and astronomy, there's nothing to be worried about. So you can sleep well. You'll be okay. There's nothing going on. It's not connected to any Anunnaki or anything like that. I missed one more, I think. And Wizard says, what do you think about the story of Yakub? Yakub is the same. The name Yakub is just like saying Enki or Enlil or Anu, right? Yakub is actually Anu in the Sumerian tale. So you have the African version of the story, which is Yakub, which are these people with these huge heads and these strange bodies that are big men, that mighty men. They call them mighty men, men of renown. And so it's really the same people. And in my series, I cover this. And I do something very interesting in these series. I show the Anunnaki like they've never been seen before. And I show them from all different perspectives of reality and all different races as well. And so it's going to be a very interesting show because nobody ever showed you the Anunnaki being perceived as being anything other than just a gigantic tall white man. There were tall whites. It's a fact because it's listed in the actual text. But there were also giant black people and extremely strong. They were some of the what they call savants. And then you had the red man, you had the yellow man, then you even had green, and you also had blue. So this is going to be, like I said, I'm showing this the way this is supposed to be shown, and I'm giving every perspective. I even cover, could they be multidimensional? Could they be spiritual beings? What are they? So we cover all the different aspects. And I think I give enough information for each individual person to begin to want to make their own judgment or create their own understanding based on an educated decision on what they saw, and maybe they'll go and do more research. All right. So I dropped the link in the live chat. Make sure you guys show up at the Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed, Regal IMAX Cinemas. I want to see you there. I'm going to read the cities again one more time, and I'm going to play the trailer again as well. This is going to be outstanding, guys. You don't want to miss this. We're talking about Los Angeles, Atlanta, Detroit, Houston, New York, Fort Lauderdale, Miami. Okay? I want to see you guys out there. It's going to be mind-blowing. And I'm going to play the trailer for you one more again. In an era shrouded in the midst of time, within the vast expanse of an uncharted cosmos, emerged the genesis of humankind. How did the odyssey of humanity begin? What secrets lie within our primordial roots? As I began to research ancient cultures, I discovered something quite interesting. Most of these ancient cultures all believe that life originated in the Pleiades. When you look at the indigenous North Americans, the Mayans, the Aboriginal tribes of Australia, the Egyptians, and even the Japanese, they all claim that they were seeded on this planet by people from the Pleiades. How can people separated by so many thousands of miles in different continents have the same exact story? There must be some fact rooted in the myth. This is the saga of the Anunnaki and their ancient secrets revealed. All right, I got another great question here. Metric says, why align pyramids with cosmic dimensions? I'll take it one question at a time. There's a few questions in here. Why align pyramids with cosmic dimensions? Well, pyramids, not all of them, some pyramids were, according to the ancient texts, utilized as portals. Portals that people would use to transfer themselves from one place to another. In the Sumerian text, they call it the Du-Ran Key. And Enlil says it would allow him to walk from Earth to his home planet and then back again. He would literally walk into his planet. And there are discs, a cylinder scroll showing a disc around him or rectangular emanation around him as if he's walking through a stargate. The Pyramid of the Sun, located in Bosnia in Europe, one of the largest pyramids that we know of above ground on Earth, that is connected to a pyramid valley by underground channels. In one of these channels, there was discovered a gigantic crystal called the K2 megalith. And that crystal has writing on it in runes. And it says, we must stand in defense and fight until we can go through the Stargate. Okay. And that's something that's just sitting in a museum. And so we know that these pyramids and these alignments were, in some of the cases, not all, for the ability to generate electricity, and some were to generate portals. Does this suggest all of our bonds, physical traits, consciousness, and time is relative, unveiling deeper meanings in their design and our relative existence? Well, time is relative because in the higher dimensions, we know that, time exists all at once. The past, present, and future actually happen at the same exact time. In the third dimension, we have an arrow of time that points us in a specific direction so that we can navigate through this matrix that we call the third dimension, the third density. But it's all about giving also our ability for our consciousness to animate this avatar body and to conceptualize and understand this dimension as a whole. Because once you're in this dimension, you need specific constraints to allow you to, parameters, I should say, to allow you to be able to understand, comprehend, discern, and navigate through this third density that we're in. This third density is a proving ground. It's a place where we come to learn, where we come to gain knowledge and wisdom and transmit that information back to the source. That's what it's really all about. How much information can you gather and wisdom can you gather in a lifetime? And how much can you act on that wisdom and knowledge to impact and change the world as we know it? That's the mission here. Because knowledge is absolutely nothing I have over 1,000 books. I think I'm up to 1,580 books or so in the house. I can look at these books. I got books everywhere, right? I can read these books and I can have all this inside of my head. All of it can be in here. Every word, every page. And you can ask me a question about a page in the book, and I can tell you on page 19, they said this, and this. I have all that in here. I can have an immense amount of knowledge. I've gone through so many books and scriptures and papyruses and cylinder scrolls, and I've traveled the world so many times. But guess what? If I don't get on a video and get on this mic and talk, if I don't show up in person and speak to people, if I don't write books and do audio and podcasts and get on TV shows and privately mentor people and talk to people all around the place, all around the world, if I don't do that, then the knowledge means nothing. You see? If I don't also utilize that knowledge to create a better life for myself and others, then the knowledge means nothing. Knowledge by itself is absolutely worthless. Knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge is power. And that's where we tend to get a little lost sometimes. It's the application of knowledge. At that point, when you apply the knowledge, when you actually take action, now you're operating within a frequency and vibration that's going to create a ripple in space-time. Action is an energy exchange. The energy exchange has a side effect. It always will. E=mc². And so because of that, that exchange of energy is going to create a ripple that's going to travel out ahead of you. And you will meet up with that ripple at some point in the future. And you'll have a reality that you'll be living in. And that reality will be based on the action you took at the moment prior. So we're all time traveling through our own energy and our actions. And if you understand that, you'll realize we're talking about the ancient Kemetic principles, which were later called the Hermetic principles, taught by Thoth the Atlantean, who ruled over the land of Kemet for 16,000 years, one man. And I do mean man, not God. And he says, the first rule, the first principle is all is mind. But there's a second and a third. And then we get to the third, you get to cause and effect. In cause and effect, we're talking about understanding that every decision that we make is going to have a consequence. Now, it can be a good consequence or a bad consequence, but I guarantee you one thing, there will be a consequence to every decision that you make. And when you begin to put action and energy behind those decisions, you now create a reality tunnel. And then you live in that tunnel in the third dimension. Everything that's unfolding before you is based on decisions you made in the past. You're just catching up to those realities that you created for yourself. Nobody created them for you. You created them for you. You created those realities. So in that case, you have to begin to understand that you are the one that's creating your situation that you're in right now. And because of that, you have to be very cautious of the decisions you're making and the action steps that you're taking now. So what you need to be able to do is you need to be able to sit back and think of a particular situation and the outcome that you want to have in that situation. And then you need to be able to make a decision in your mind without acting on it, and then send that decision into the future and meditate on it and watch it unfold here in the mind's eye, because mind is outside of space and time. And watch that decision unfold in reality through consciousness. Okay, well, this is not gonna unfold the way that I would like to see it. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go back and meditate again. I'm gonna make a different decision and put action behind that and watch it unfold into the future from that thought perspective until you get to the one that gives you the reality that you want. In the ancient texts, they call them the ordainers of destiny. And these ordainers of destiny had this capability. What I'm telling you, what I'm teaching you right now is super ancient, deep antiquity. This is the knowledge of the ancients. They knew how to create their own reality. They knew how to literally nudge realities into existence through conscious thought backed by action to create their manifestation. They understood how to travel with their mind into the future to see what things will unfold, almost like looking into a crystal ball. And then when they discover the one that they want, that's the action and the energy they put behind that thought and that process. And then they get what they want. They get the reality that they themselves created. We're all doing this, by the way, but you don't understand. You don't understand what that means. We're all doing it, but we don't realize that we're doing it. So we're extremely clumsy with our thoughts. We are extremely clumsy with our actions, right? We're extremely clumsy. And because of that, we stumble and fall all over the place and we don't really understand what's really happening. We don't get it. It's us that's creating the reality. The future is a mirror of your own conscious thought and your actions. That's all it is. The future is literally an actual mirror of your conscious thoughts and your own actions. So a lot of the things that are going on in the world today, we have to blame ourselves for them. The things that are affecting us, we have to blame ourselves. Yes, you'll get agitated. Yes, you'll get mad. Yes, you will get frustrated. You have the right to make those feelings and those assumptions. You have a right to feel like that, but pass through it. Eventually flow through that and get over it and realize what role did you play in allowing yourself? Because I can't make you angry. Only you can make yourself angry. So getting angry is like you're just torturing yourself. So all these things that we're going through in this realm is all about testing and proving. That's all it's about. It's a testing and proving ground. How can we begin to get better each and every day, little by little? How can we begin to master and walk in our power and let the future that we want to see unfold before our very eyes? How can we manifest heaven on earth? Because waiting to die so you can live, in my opinion, is ridiculous. I'm going to live now. I choose to live now. I allow myself to live now. And in this journey of living now, I'm going to try to help and take as many people as I possibly can on that same journey. Operating within the mindset, you see? So it kind of got me off on a tangent there, but it's just, it's so powerful. I just believe in it so wholeheartedly. I think that people need to get a good understanding of how these things really, really work. This is my last question, and I got to run, guys. I got to go get some dinner. Does the physical proportion have a significance? Can we build things that are relative to other things to connect them like our own relatives? Well, the physical proportions really don't mean anything. It's all about consciousness. Everything it is in this dimension, it's all about consciousness. If you're talking about getting into higher dimensions, are you talking about becoming an ascended master? The ancestors are already with you. They are with you right now. All of my ancestors are inside of my body. How do we know this? Do a research study on epigenetic memories. Epigenetic memories. First taught by Dr. Bruce Lipton over 25 years ago, and his own peers scoffed and laughed at him. And now it's taught in all major universities that teach genetics. He was ahead of his time. 15 to 20 years of your ancestors are inside of your body right now. You're walking with your ancestors everywhere you go. Their epigenetics are inside of you through the RNA. Not the DNA, but the RNA. Unfortunately, some of the coding is bad, which can give you feelings of depression, loneliness, reclusiveness, anger. Right? But also the good things are there too. Tap into that, harness that energy, walk in that power. I posted a meme a few weeks ago that showed me as a baby. I was a little baby and I had my relatives sitting all around me. This is back in 1971. And I'm sitting up and I'm smiling. And everyone in that picture, unfortunately, has passed away. Those are my ancestors now. And the meme, I made a meme, and it said, I am the prayer of my ancestors fully realized. That's where you have to go. That's where you have to be. And just walk with that power and understand it and tap into it because they're already with you. All right. Guys, it's been a great night. Thank you so much. It's been a great night. Again, don't forget, I have the Tupac channel. The Tupac channel is amazing. It's a YouTube channel. It's free music. I remaster and produce with Gorilla Tech new Tupac remixes based on his acapellas. And it's almost like hearing Tupac for the first time all over again. Like literally like hearing him for the first time all over again. Plus we have the Tupac podcast. I'm going to drop the link to Tupac, the Tupac account in here right now. It's the Tupac Remix Vault. I'm going to drop the link to the Remix Vault in the live chat. If you guys could like and subscribe. Check out the podcast I did last night with King Simon. I had King Simon on. He's a numerologist, and we did the numerology of the Tupac code last night. It was listen, it was an amazing podcast. I mean, he really tapped into the numbers and the knowledge behind the numbers. And then, of course, we have the music up there as well. So listen to the music, vibe to it. I didn't try to take anything away from Tupac. I wanted to just compliment the greatness of the legend himself. So I didn't try to take away or change it up so much that you don't recognize who he is or what power he had. I just took, there's quite a few songs that I thought he had that were very inspirational, very motivational, or told a very good story about the reality that we're living in. And in a lot of the cases in his lyrics, he's talking about solutions to those problems with his double entendres. And so I wanted to be able to bring a little something extra to the table so that we can get a chance to refresh and listen to some of these tracks again, but with new ears and new eyes, but with the same legendary voice. All right. So yes, Tupac lost his way in the end. Somebody typed it in there. But he was trying to escape. He was trying to get out of there. He was caught. He was a man that was caught between two worlds. And in the numerology podcast, you'll see what I'm talking about, what I mean by that. So make sure you check it out. It's the Tupac Remix Vault, T2 with the number 2, Tupac Remix Vault on YouTube. Make sure you guys like and subscribe over there. All right. And I want to see y'all at the Regal IMAX Theaters. Come hang out with me. Come shake my hands. If you have a copy of my book, make sure you bring the book. All right. Make sure you bring the book so I can sign them. And this just came out, the special edition. This is the special edition hardcover, full color on the inside, full color interior. All photos are in full color with some extra pieces, some extra knowledge in the back. Hardcovers. It's called the Special Epic of Humanity, the Epic of Humanity Special Edition. Just go to Amazon.com and type in Billy Carson. All this stuff pops right up. Or go to the caption of this video. The links are in the caption of this video. I appreciate you guys. I love y'all. And I will see y'all next time on the Forbidden Knowledge Podcast. Peace.